I was going to get you to maybe react to the loan prime rate a little bit here. Given that it was unchanged, was this a missed opportunity for Beijing to shift or show that shift in policy?
Well, I think not necessarily. It would have been very unusual if they cut loan prime rate without previously cut MLF or have a triple R cut as they did in December. So, of course, if they did cut the LPR rate, it would have been a very quick early signal, and that could have been followed by MLF cut later or the OMO rate cut or a triple R cut. But however, if they didn't, since they didn't cut today, it doesn't mean they won't, soon. Our expectation is that they will have a cut in April, and they will also likely to cut triple R in the next 1 or 2 months.
Yeah, and while it was a crazy week last week when it comes to markets in China, whether it's with the news flow of what we heard from Liu He, that meeting as well, I'm just wondering, markets are looking for concrete policies now in order to justify the moves that we've seen. What do you think is the easiest to deliver at this moment, and what's going to be a bit more of a challenge?
Right. The easiest to deliver was announce the suspension of the property tax pilot, and that's been announced. I think next, indeed, would be either a triple R cut or a rate cut. That will be very helpful. They did also announce that they are going to speed up platform restructuring. That's really helpful for the ADR. And also they said they're going to make progress with ADR listing or delisting, right, with SEC. I think also in this general context, they're also helping property developers. They're going to try to prevent any, large-scale defaults, and the market's very concerned about that. And also, I think Ambassador Qin Gang's Washington Post op-ed and then, interview, and of course the call this weekend were very helpful to clarify China's position and therefore, I think, dispel some concerns that China may be sanctioned by the U.S. And so that makes the situation surrounding Chinese market more stable.
Okay, now what then does the consumer need? Let's talk about that side of the conversation. I mean, certainly giving an initial boost to confidence, that's easy. Making that last and getting those, economic agents, as economists like to put it, of course, to act out consistently. What do you think Beijing needs to do to get consumer spending and buying things again?
Right. That's, so I think there are two things. One is, of course, get the economy going. And so then people's employment and income can grow. And at this moment, I think the thing that the government is acting the most or the easiest is infrastructure spending. So we have seen infrastructure rebounding in the first couple of months. And there is a lot of money in the budget that is, hidden under the very soft headline. But actually, the fiscal is quite expensive this year. So if they can speed up that disbursement and speed up the project approval, that's going to be very helpful. The other thing, I think, is actually COVID policies. With the COVID flare-up throughout the country, now we have had a few cities in tighter restrictions or even lockdowns. I think that restriction is also hurting consumption. So I think that's why we have, the main reason we have downgraded growth a bit. So if they can either get property going or start to, have, as they said, more precise management of COVID restrictions, I think that will be very helpful.
And your guesstimate of when Beijing might have that appetite to either loosen restrictions, COVID restrictions, or even maybe open up the border a little bit?
I think the border opening will be very slow, I'm afraid to say. But domestic restrictions can be eased gradually. I think already we see signs of a bit of management of there when they adjusted, for example, the ninth treatment, which means that the people with no symptom or light symptoms doesn't have to go to the hospital. So that's going to free up the hospital resources. And also there were very known experts talking about how low the death rate is. It's below even the code and so on. I think that's giving a bit of public opinion management, and they're also increasing the vaccination for older people, strongly encouraging them to do that. Seeing what has happened in Hong Kong, they're going to be careful. So I think it will probably take another 2-3 months until they have a better grasp of the current situation and also have accumulated experience managing this.
What about managing the property market? You talked about how not expanding that property tax trial was probably the easiest thing that they can do, but is it too little too late when it comes to bringing any sort of relief to these developers?
Well, I think property policies have been eased over since basically late last year. And so gradually they're going to ease more. I think, that would include more funding for developers and also easier lending to mortgage buyers, increasing rental construction, and also I think ease on the management of pre-sales proceeds. I think what's needed next is perhaps to work with developers to help solve their cash flow issues when they do have debt to pay, especially offshore. After Liu He's speech, we had multiple agencies coming out talking about these kind of issues. So I suspect more things will come. So that property tax is definitely just a signal and not the whole thing. So we should expect more things to come.